people will commit to misunderstanding you. What's most important is your commitment to understanding yourself. Hello, you guys. My name is Nkirika Madani, known as NK, and welcome back to Misunderstood. Don't live in your comfort zone. Today, we are talking about change and how change means you're growing. A lot of people, myself included, are a little scared of change. Change is uncomfortable because we're so used to feeling comfortable and we're so used to doing our day-to-day and having a routine and knowing what's coming next. Having things predictable gives us a sense of calm. However, change means you're growing. Change means you're expanding, and change means that you are becoming better and better versions of yourself. Through everything that we experience, change brings us there. Change kind of shakes us up to give us a better result in the end. No matter if we go through turmoil, change will offer a better result in the end. A result that will also teach us more about ourselves. And on this podcast, the pillar is learning and really understanding yourself, really knowing who you are. Very excited to take you guys through this specific episode. Strap in, there is a lot to unpack. But first, please remember to rate Misunderstood, this podcast, 5 stars. I love taking you guys through every single week on this podcast. It is a very safe space for both you and I. If you want to help with the continuation of this podcast, as I hope you do, please take some time right now to leave a 5-star rating on the show wherever you are listening. Thank you so much. All right, you guys, I literally wrote everything down because I didn't want to forget anything. If you have ever been feeling stuck, feeling stagnant in your life, maybe through work, maybe through your environment, friendships, your dating life, okay? This applies to literally everything. Let this episode be your sign to hit the reset button and to expand outside of what you are used to for the betterment of your life. Number 1, let's just talk about hair for a second. I think hair holds a lot of weight in society and within ourselves. Hair holds a lot of identity as well. I know for me, especially as a Black woman, there is a lot to unpack about hair. I've been going through a lot of changes in my whole life with my hair and trying to find what works for me. But right now, I am currently rocking a bob. It's funny because I'm filming this right now and you can't see the bob because my hair is in a ponytail, but I recently chopped my hair. I chopped 3.5 inches off of my hair and she's in her bob era. This happened earlier in the summer and I knew that I needed to change. I knew that I needed to reset and start over. My hair actually was at its worst. My natural hair was so damaged from extensions, from not properly taking care of it. I wanted to restart. I wanted better and I wanted to start to actively take care of it and prove to myself that I can take care of my natural hair. I've been afraid of taking care of my hair because of the maintenance. However, there are so many resources that I now have that can really help me in the pursuit of taking care of my hair. So she's rocking a bob. I like it. When it's fully styled, I actually love it. I've been talking about it on YouTube more so that when it's styled, I feel very grown. I feel very elevated. I feel very chic. But what I will say is that it did take a little bit of an adjustment. It was different. I have never had my hair that short. And when I was a kid, I was always so self-conscious about having short hair. All of the kids at school had long hair. And I was the girl with textured, super short hair that I couldn't even put into a ponytail. So it's interesting now as a 30-year-old and going into that salon, letting the hairstylist do whatever she wanted. I literally said, you have full reign, you can chop it, okay? I went in there, I did it, and I did it scared. And the results, stunning. And through my day-to-day, I'm learning that as much as hair holds identity, hair grows back. Hair is ever changing, and so is my story with my hair. If you've been scared to change up your hair, maybe you want bangs, maybe you want to dye your hair a different color, maybe you want to have a bob and we can be twins, I encourage you. I just want this to be an encouragement of change can enlighten you in a lot of ways, and change can also give you energy. I think that once I got my bob, not to be dramatic, but I think I've looked at life in a more lighthearted way. Oh, I have this cute bob. I feel so cute and fun and flirty and fresh and exciting and edgy and chic. And it actually kind of kickstarted my energy, kickstarted my personality in a way, especially because of some of the summer so far hasn't been the best, which we will get to right now. As I mentioned a few episodes ago, I am going through an injury. I hurt my knee. This is the knee that I got surgery on when I was 16. I tore my ACL. So I got a full ACL reconstruction. When I was 16, I literally thought that my life was over, and I thought that this was probably the worst thing that could have happened to me. What I've learned now as a 30-year-old is getting hurt when you're an adult, there's a whole different fear. There's a whole different wave of emotions. I felt very alone and I felt very scared. Now that I finally actually know what's wrong and I have been able to see doctors, get my MRI, we got all the information to be able to actually move forward, and it helps me get a better grip on life. So I have a grade 1 tear in my meniscus, partially tore my meniscus ligament in my knee. I didn't know the extent of the injury when it happened until I got the MRI and until I was able to speak to the doctors. And during the large chunk of time that I wasn't able to speak to the doctors yet, which was a whole other scenario, I was spiraling. I was getting very scared because I didn't know the full extent of the injury. All I knew is that I could not walk for one whole week. And I'm speaking to you guys now 5 weeks after the injury, and very, very thankful that I can walk. Very, very thankful that I feel probably 75-80% healed. My doctor has already instructed me on what to do and next steps and how much longer to rest and wait and just not do any extracurricular activities, active activities until when he instructed. And that helps me be able to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know now that this injury impacted me way more than just physically. It impacted me emotionally. I was depressed for most of June. A lot of people did not see the extent of it on social. I feel like I was fighting demons. I feel like my life was crumbling and I was so scared. And now, 5 weeks later, thinking back to how scared I was when I got hurt, it just makes me so thankful for this stretch of time that I've been able to reflect on myself, and I've been able to reflect on how grateful I am to be young, to be able to heal, to understand that even though I don't fully know the reasonings to why I got hurt, there was a reason, and life was telling me to slow down. Life was telling me to take a seat. Literally, because I literally had to be bed rest for a week and a half. It's moments like that that really shake you and really make you think, my life is changing. Right now, I don't know if it's for the better, but life is changing. And I want to ride the wave and I want to see this through, even though, again, I'm here to say I was at my lowest in June. But here I am speaking to you guys in a way better headspace. I was so out of my comfort zone. Being a very active person who is a runner, who spends most of her time outside, who enjoys to be outside and to be moving and to be running around, that is my personality. That is who I am. I was shaken. I was forced to do things differently. But by doing things differently, I was able to reflect and I was able to understand that even though things are shitty right now and I don't know when I'm going to get to return to the things I love, I can now tap into other things I love that have been on the back burner. I've been taking up new activities that I have been wanting to do and haven't done, such as crocheting. I've been reading a lot more. I've been writing more, something that I love doing and I haven't done in a while, but it has taught me that being in my comfort zone wasn't all that good. I needed to, unfortunately, have a situation where it really makes me question everything. For me to shake up my surroundings, shake up how I do things, I need to be able to continue living and I need to be able to put one foot in front of the other, even if it's slowly, and get things done. Next, I want to talk about dating. Went on 2 dates with this guy. The first date we had was back in June, and it's been a very busy month in July where I've been traveling, he's been busy, but we went on our second date not too long ago, and it was very, very cute. He picked me up. We drove to Nyack, which I had never even heard of this place. It is 45 minutes outside of New York City, and it is so cute. It looks like it would be in Gilmore Girls or in a storybook. It is adorable, and we walked around, we got dinner, we got drinks, we went to go see live music, and it was really, really nice. This guy is not my usual type. I'm gonna use this reference for anybody who watches Summer House. Think of Sierra and West. Optically, you might think, okay, you wouldn't put them together, maybe in your mind. However, they're good together. They complement each other well. He makes me laugh. And that's really important for me when a guy actively wants to see me smile and make me laugh and takes care of me in that way, in the emotional way, which in my past, a lot of guys haven't been able to do that. So with this guy, that really sticks out to me. But I threw this one in here to emphasize that your comfort zone in terms of dating matters too. If you feel like you are not being met with the people who you are connecting with and really clicking with, shake that shit up. Date somebody who maybe might not be your spot on type from the get-go or on paper or just optically, but you might be very, very surprised with the outcome. This also makes me think of Charlotte and her husband, Sex and the City, I forgot his name. You can find your quote, happy ever after, and you can find your excitement from people who you might not even give a second thought. And I think about this so much because I know that I have not even a specific type, but I have a type of guys who, if I see them, I'm like, he's hot, he's good looking. However, I've dated some of those, quote, guys who I think are super hot, super attractive, and they're not giving anything other than being hot. And I don't want to be with someone like that either. I don't want to be with someone who I can't giggle with and have an intellectual conversation with, someone who cares about me and wants to know about my family and more in-depth, real life shit. If I don't have that, I don't want it, truly. Take a little pulse check about who you date because you might surprise yourself with what you're finding. You might be so surprised with who you are actually attracted to and who is actually someone who is worth it, who will go the distance with you. Next, I want to talk about traveling, specifically solo travel, a full episode about solo traveling, episode 25. I highly recommend listening to that episode if you are someone who wants to try solo traveling. I have gone on 8 solo trips, about to go on my 9th one very soon, and it is so good for the soul. I have promised myself that I need to go on a solo trip at least once a year. We're going to take a road trip to Maine. I'm so excited. I read the book Happy Place by Emily Henry earlier this year, and it solidified my love for Maine. Even prior to reading that book, I did want to go to Maine. So now that we are actually going, I'm so excited. It's on my bucket list. This has been something I wanted to do for so long, and I'm very excited to go to all the little towns. I've already made my Pinterest board. I've already looked into places I want to see. I'm very excited. If you want to get out of your comfort zone, I highly recommend going on a solo trip. Solo trips literally physically take you out of your comfort zone. You are so used to your day-to-day and you're so used to probably going on trips with other people. That's probably maybe all you've done. But I'm here to tell you through much experience that going on a solo trip is so good for the soul. It's so good for your personal development. It helps your brain expand to see what you love outside of other people. We spend so much time with other people. A lot of times we're not able to separate our thoughts from others or our opinions from others. But when you're on a solo trip, think about it. You get to plan your entire itinerary. You are the captain of your ship, of your trip, and you get to do whatever the heck you want. You get to spend time with yourself and you get to think as an individual. If you haven't taken a solo trip, please take one. Please let me know as well. And I cannot wait to unpack my trip to Maine. I will definitely be making a YouTube vlog, so remember to go subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you do not miss that vlog. Next, I want to talk about in real life meetups, specifically in New York City. I have committed to organizing meetups in New York City. I've been doing this now since March, and I have done a handful so far. Summer has been very busy, so I haven't done as much as I have wanted to. However, I want to talk about my most recent event that I planned, which was a Central Park Darty, and it went so well. It was so much fun. There were 9 of us there at the park for 3 hours. I got to meet just so many different types of people. We were all so different, but it was really beautiful how we all just came together, not knowing each other prior. All of these people are also in the Misunderstood group chat. So another plug, if you want to meet like-minded girls and make more friends in New York City, I highly recommend joining our Geneva group chat. And we do have semi-frequent events hosted in New York City because that's where I live. But it was really cool. There were people from Long Island, there's people from Philly who came to this park day, and it made me just so happy that I created a space for other people because it's so hard to find community. I know that. I've talked about that at length on this podcast, on my social. For the majority of time being in New York City, I have felt lonely, and that is mostly in part because I did not know anybody before I moved here, and I forged this journey pretty solo. But what I will say is by me actively putting myself out there, especially in way of creating events, inviting people who I don't know, and just seeing how it goes, that has really helped me get out of my comfort zone of being in a lonely place. Being lonely sucks, and if I can help anybody not feel lonely, as well as help myself get out of a lonely place, you bet your ass I will, because I understand both sides. I've been on both sides of feeling lonely, but then I've also have felt really comforted and really happy around people in New York City so far. If you feel like you're in a position that you are looking for more community, more friends, I highly recommend looking at places in your area that you can do an in real life meetup, but you can always find comfort and a home in Misunderstood in our Geneva group chat. Next, probably the biggest update for this episode is, drum roll please, I'm moving. I'm still staying in New York City, don't you worry, but I am moving apartments. At the time that this podcast episode goes up, I will already be in my new apartment. This is my 3rd New York City apartment, and if you would have asked me 2.5 years ago if I was going to be in 3 different apartments in New York City, I would literally laugh at you. But here we are in our 3rd New York City apartment, and I am beside myself. It is so interesting how life can take you in so many different places. And for me, specifically, this apartment, I think is going to challenge me in a lot of ways, but it's also going to allow me to experience New York in the way I wanted to, honestly, at the beginning. All right, let me explain. My very first New York City apartment, I was in a 1-bedroom. My second New York City apartment, I was in a studio. And my third New York City apartment, the one at this point of you listening to the podcast, I am living with roommates. I have not lived with roommates since I moved from San Francisco. I believe that will probably be the biggest adjustment I have so far in my adulthood. And again, let me say this again so that no one gets it twisted. I have lived with roommates. I'm also one of 5 siblings. I am so well versed with living with other people. I think the switch up from living by myself for the past 2.5 years to living with roommates will be an adjustment simply because I was so used to having my own space. My main reasonings for wanting to have roommates now is 1, because my second New York City apartment, they raised the rent for a new lease, so I was not willing to pay the really high percentage increase. So I said, all right, we're going to get out of our comfort zone once again and move apartments. I found this apartment so fast, you guys. So fast. Within 2 weeks, I found this apartment. While I was juggling traveling, while I was juggling my injury, I was doing all this behind the scenes. But all of this has taught me to lean into being outside of my comfort zone. And here's the thing. I could have just renewed my lease at that higher price, but I said, well, the lease is up. I don't want to pay it. I could, but I don't want to. I want to save money on rent because I have been feeling like I've been throwing away money living in New York City. I love New York City, and I understand that the higher prices is the cost of entry of experiencing this lifestyle. I get it. However, I'm at a point that I can choose what I do with my money, with my next steps. So I said, all right, if I want to stay in New York and if I want to stay in Manhattan and if I want to continue this storyline and pay less money, if you do the math there, the output means I have to live with roommates. And that is going to be a journey in and of itself, but I am looking forward to leaning into the journey. I'm looking forward to breaking out of my comfort zone. If you don't love your living situation, I recommend trying to find alternatives and things that you can do to break out of it. But if you are in a position that you love living with roommates and you love that camaraderie, I also love that for you. I'm someone who I fully believe that you do not have to be besties with your roommates. You definitely have to be cordial and respectful always. At the end of the day, you are just sharing space. And for me, the most important thing is living my best life in New York City. I'm in a completely different area than I have been the entire time I've lived in New York City, and that's exciting. It's a little nerve-wracking, but it's exciting. It will push me to hit that potential of living in New York City that I know that I have wanted to do. I'll also be honest and say, the past 2.5 years, as much as I am so thankful and grateful for the experience of living by myself, I got a little too comfortable. I barely saw friends. I spent a lot of time alone. That's not a bad thing. And I'm really thankful for that time in my life because it allowed me to learn so much about myself. And honestly, I don't even know if I would have even started this podcast if it wasn't for my stint of time living by myself in New York City. So we can thank that part of my life because it brought us here. It brought you and I together. And it brought me a sense of being so proud of my accomplishments because the only reason I was able to live by myself in Manhattan for 2.5 years is because of my hard work. And I'm damn proud. And no one can ever take that away from me. Also, just because I'm living with roommates right now, that does not erase the fact that I have been living by myself for the past 2.5 years. It is all part of my story. Here's the thing. You can change storylines whenever you want. You can decide to write a new script anytime you want. Stepping out of your comfort zone is so important for the longevity of your life, for the betterment of your life. Stepping out of your comfort zone will teach you so much about yourself. And I'm so excited for this new chapter. If you want to keep up with the journey of the apartment tours and the moving vlogs, all of it, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post weekly. Lastly, I want to talk about reconnecting with family. I've talked on this podcast a good amount about family and how family for me specifically is not the best and doesn't make me feel comforted. But today I want to specifically talk about something really good that has happened recently with family, specifically my younger sister. I had a dream not too long ago and the dream jolted me awake and told me in my gut that I need to call her. For context, I have not spoke to my little sister in 2 years and I haven't seen her in 2 years either. She lives in Chicago doing her own thing and there's been a lot of turmoil in my family, which has caused this absence of us all being together. But something in me put that aside because at the end of the day, she's my little sister. I love her. I will literally do whatever I need to do to make sure that she's okay. So I called her out of the blue and we had an hour conversation. And I cried on the phone to her and I told her how sorry I was for not being the sister who I wanted to be when we were younger and how I'm committed to doing better. And I told her, I'm here for you. I want to listen and I want to know how you are. I want to be in your life. And I know that meant a lot to her and she told me how much it meant to her. And now we are going to be doing weekly phone calls. And I'm so excited to slowly rebuild my relationship with her because she is a mini me. Honestly, we are different in a lot of ways, but there are a lot of our core traits that are very similar and I miss having her as a built-in friend. And I'm very, very, very excited to see how we progress in our journey as sisters, as friends, as confidants, because she means so much to me. And I know that this is a very good step in our relationship and I will get to the rest of my family. Don't you worry. Everything takes time, but I know that me stepping out of my comfort zone of just sitting and waiting for her to reach out wasn't serving anybody. I was giving her her space because I knew she needed it, but it's so important to reach out to the people who you love. If you have anybody who's on your mind right now as you're listening to this and you think, wow, I miss her, I love her, I care about her, him, whoever, let this be a sign. Maybe just shoot that text. And I know it hurts to not get a response. I know, because I've been doing it for 2 years. And the fact that she answered now meant something. It meant something much more than I could even express. And I'm looking forward to the journey. So overall, change is uncomfortable, but think about it. The change of staying the same is far more painful than the change of growing. And with that, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Misunderstood. Make sure to rate the podcast 5 stars on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you are listening. Remember to join our Geneva group chat. It is always linked in the description of every single podcast episode. Hang out with me on my other socials, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Pinterest at nkmadani. And I will talk to you guys in my next one.